Good evening and welcome to Match of the Day for the FA Cup semi-final between Watford and Plymouth, where history has to be made. Neither side has ever been to Wembley, which adds a touch more to an already intriguing contest. There'll be news later from the other semi-final between Everton and Southampton, but let's go straight to Villa Park and sample the electric atmosphere created by supporters of clubs whose trophy cabinets are hardly overflowing. But this afternoon we're savouring the thought of walking the Olympic way to Wembley Stadium. Your commentator is John Motson.
So can this Plymouth team put themselves in the record books? Hardly a household name among them at this stage, but they'll all be national heroes if they win today. It's a spectacular day out for the West Country, whether Plymouth win, lose or draw. There are nearly 24,000 fans here from Devon and Cornwall to support a club which 2.5 years ago was just 10 minutes away from liquidation, but which now, in this spring sunshine, is just 90 minutes away from football history and Wembley. Wilf Rostron leads out Watford, and with their chairman Elton John away in Paris, they're hoping that this is the yellow brick road to Wembley. One of the youngest semi-final teams ever. And their 20,000 supporters see them cast in the unfamiliar role of favourites. Watford have been giant killers so often in their breathtaking 6-year march from the 4th Division. But now at the very gates of Wembley, they find their way blocked by opponents of similar modest origin. How typical of the quirkish nature of this gripping competition. The FA Cup, which always sends a tingle down the spine on semi-final day. Well, now the team news. Plymouth's number 3, John Uzel, was declared fit this morning after a groin strain, so it's the side which won at West Bromwich Albion in the 5th round and which beat Derby in the 6th. But the main news concerns Watford because Kenny Jackett was ruled out today with a thigh strain. So Captain Rostron, himself doubtful until yesterday, switches to number 10. And 20-year-old Neil Price, who was on loan to Plymouth, of all people, for a month recently, plays his first FA Cup tie at left back. So there are 7 players in the Watford team, aged 21 or under, and no player on either side has ever played in an FA Cup semi-final before. What a remarkable moment for 37-year-old John Hoare, the Plymouth manager, who only left Bideford in the Western League 6 months ago to take over at Home Park, where he was a player with Plymouth for 14 years. Graham Taylor, who took over at Watford in 1977, and they were in the 4th Division. Nice moment there between the two managers. He's just agreed a new 6-year contract to stay at Vicarage Road. He's built more than just a team, he's built a club, and now the FA Cup final, which he never made as a player, beckons him and Watford. And the referee this afternoon, taking charge of his first FA Cup semi-final, is Joe Worrell of Warrington. And Mo Johnston, the Watford discovery of the season, 21 years old yesterday, with George Riley, he gets this semi-final started. Watford are playing from right to left. That was Bardsley. Number 6 is Lee Cooper, the Plymouth captain. Busy midfield player. Uzel is the left back. Tynan now. Steve Terry. The pitch looks in good condition. Had it watered, but there's plenty of grass on it. And Villa Park, always a stately home for semi-finals. It was nicely laid off there by Tynan to Rodgers. Andy Rodgers takes on Bardsley. They've got players in the middle. David Phillips arriving. And Plymouth launch the first threat. They're not very tall, the men who will be looking for the header, but Uzel will go up onto the goal line. It's been taken quickly and crossed, and Staniforth nearly got in. Bardsley did. Gordon Nisbet. Lindsay Smith had a fling at it, didn't get hold of it. And it was Price who'll want to get into the game early. Says he likes the big occasion though, and he's played in the UEFA Cup, Neil Price. Hodges, Nisbet, nicely round. And the big question on this side of the field. Hodges. Nisbet to Lindsay Smith. Hodges again, took it down nicely. That's Staniforth. It's back inside again, Rostron cleared. And a good, purposeful start here by the third division team. Tynan. Staniforth. Lee Cooper. Rodgers had moved into the centre then. Hodges. And Rodgers is there again. Trying to turn Bardsley. And Tynan's on the near post. Can he tuck it back? He did to Nisbet in the end. And the drive. I think it caught Steve Terry as it went through. It's a corner. Nisbet, the player who had the shot. Good effort. Now Rodgers, the outside left, who scored direct from a corner at Derby, remember, is going to take this one. Away by big George Riley. Nisbet again. Another deflection off a Watford player. Lindsay Smith! The first half chance. They hadn't really cleared it, and the deflection carried the ball into the path of Lindsay Smith, who, as we saw at Derby, is dangerous in that area of the field. He hit the post and bar that night. Well, then he skied the ball over in this semi-final. Little John Hoare wondering whether his team would freeze. Well, the early signs are they haven't. Smith with Riley. Hodges. Sinnott. Taylor. Barnes. Terry. Nisbet. Sinnott. Finally it comes to Hodges. Now Staniforth. Nisbet forward. Back by Price. All a bit untidy at the moment. But here's Barnes. Riley's coming towards the near post. Oh, he got a fleck and it's there! George Riley came in, and Watford are in front after 13 minutes. John Barnes, the man they thought might win the match, got away on the left. Riley stayed over on the far side. He timed his run perfectly to meet the cross, and Watford are in the lead. So, the third division underdogs, having started so well, find themselves a goal down. But here's Rodgers. And that was all for Steve Sherwood. It's a corner. Uzel has gone up for the corner. Cooper's there as well. The flick on was by Uzel, and Tommy Tynan's in there and the shot by Hodges, and Watford living dangerously. How vulnerable a team is when they've just scored. And from that scramble, Plymouth on another day might have snatched an equaliser. Flags up on the far side. Referee has let play go. This is Les Taylor trying to get round Lee Cooper, and it's still Taylor. He miskicked it. Riley didn't. Saved by Crutchington. Good effort on the turn by George Riley, but Jeff Crutchington, who actually began his league career with Aston Villa, back on familiar ground today, made a fine stop, and he's kept Plymouth in the game. Lee Sinnott, the youngest player on the pitch, only 18. Callahan, three waiting in the centre for Watford. It's a good cross, Johnston! Well, when you talk about Watford, you talk about wing play, and they're real wingers, not just midfield players or converted fullbacks. They really do attack the line and get the crosses in orthodox fashion, and it makes for opportunity and excitement in the area. Callahan the provider, Johnston just too high. Staniforth turning and finds Hodges. Good position here. Took it early and just wide. Watford were caught square and sleeping. Came off Hodges to Phillips. And here's Tynan. Nicely laid off that by Staniforth earlier. Here's Rodgers. Plymouth have got 6 players forward in this attack. Rodgers on the ball. Tynan. Good effort on the turn by a player who began his professional career with Liverpool but never got into the first team. Tommy Tynan. Halfway through the first half, and it's Mo Johnston for Watford. And the cross turned away by Nisbet. Johnston again. Headed back across, and Nisbet's header out. Rostron, and now Barnes. And Price has come forward, turned away by Crutchington, and put in on the far side, but the flag up, Nigel Callahan's effort, wiped out for an offside. The red flag there of linesman Roger Dilks, who spotted the player in the offside position, and it doesn't count. This is Sinnott. Oh, Barnes, away by Harrison. Header by Sinnott, now Price. Phillips. Rodgers. Cooper's made a run forward here, number 6. He's in a good position, but Les Taylor did the right thing. Who says there's no Watford midfield? He had to go back and defend against Lee Cooper. It's a corner to Plymouth. Been played quickly. And Hodges! It was played short to Staniforth. A nice chip in. And Kevin Hodges' flying header not far away. Good stuff from the 3rd Division team. And it draws a mighty response from the West Country fans. It just seems as though Watford have got the greater momentum when they play the more direct football, which is their trademark, but Plymouth have had some good moments and their build-up has been measured. Riley's in there. So is Mo Johnston with the overhead, and John Barnes. Callahan. Riley. Rostron's down that right-hand side as well. This is Bardsley. He lost out to Rodgers, and now it's Tynan. Plymouth looking to come square with Lee Cooper. And he's got Hodges outside him. Staniforth's coming to the near post, but the ball just ran away from Hodges. The man who made the break from midfield was the captain, Lee Cooper, who's already had 3 or 4 surging runs from that position, and it's forcing Watford's Les Taylor to go back and mark him. Barnes. Riley, and Barnes is off again, pursued this time by Harrison. Watford have got 3 coming in from the far side. It's still Barnes, and it was going to be driven low for Taylor until Nisbet got in the way. Corner to be taken by Callahan. Header out was by Uzel. Callahan again. And off Nisbet this time as Plymouth defend in depth. Staniforth. And it's Andy Rodgers trying to turn away from Callahan in the last 10 minutes of the first half here. Nisbet for Plymouth. Surging forward. Fine run by Gordon Nisbet. Was he fouled by Lee Sinnott? Play on, Rodgers. And Staniforth. That could have gone anywhere, the clearance by Bardsley. Probing run by Gordon Nisbet from right back. Rodgers. And still Rodgers. And Lindsay Smith, bumping and boring by Riley there. Lindsay Smith felt he might have had a penalty. Joe Worrell had a look and said no. And there's no sustained protest. They know each other so well. Old adversaries, but also former teammates at Cambridge United. Rodgers. Plymouth force a corner again. There goes Uzel. Cooper will take it. That took the flick at Larson. Staniforth coming in. Almost made contact. Staniforth, the man lurking beyond the far post, coming in on the flick. It's over Johnston. Here's Rostron, and now Riley. And Barnes will try and make something of it for Watford. Headed out by Lindsay Smith. It's a corner to Watford right at the end of the first half. Here's Les Taylor. It's the First Division team who hold the cards with a 1-goal lead. Graham Taylor's side, who scored in their first dangerous attack. Plymouth Argyle 0, Watford 1. The unpredictable nature of the FA Cup illustrated by what happened to these two clubs back in the third round when Watford were 2-0 down at Luton, I recall, and Plymouth saved themselves with a last-minute penalty against Newport County. Often acts of brinkmanship in the early rounds lead to days of glory like this later on. Glory certainly for one team anyway in the semi-final, and often obscurity for the others. Don't often remember semi-final losers. It's Bardsley putting it back. And Plymouth for the moment losing this one by 1-0. There's Riley taking a challenge from Lindsay Smith. Les Taylor a quick free kick, and it's released Mo Johnston. And here's Callahan. The block was by Harrison. Staniforth trying to shake off Sinnott. And here's Nisbet. Terry. Just stumbling a bit there, Steve Terry, but recovering. Big test for him in a way, with Steve Sims, the first choice centre-half, on the injured list for a few weeks now. That was Smith. This is Terry again. A long ball pursued by Barnes. So often that kind of early ball forward forces for Watford, if not a goal-scoring opportunity, at least a throw-in or a corner. And they know how to use those. Price. They'll force a corner this time too. Anxious time for Plymouth, 5 minutes into the second half. They can't afford to concede a second goal at this stage. And Barnes flick on. That was bad timing by Lee Sinnott, his jump sending him into the back of Staniforth. So it's Harrison with the kick for Plymouth. There's Tynan. Smith is forward. Rogers. Into Tynan, a chance here, and it was a drive by Staniforth, which he didn't get fully behind, I don't think. It needed really hammering that. And Sherwood saw plenty of it. Phillips forward. To Rogers. Bardsley was quick. The flag was up. Lindsay Smith covering. Still on the transfer list, actually, Lindsay Smith. Tynan. Forward by Rogers. Staniforth marked by Sinnott. And he's foxed him. And there are three in the middle here for Plymouth. And Hodges arriving, taken out by Price. Good defending by the 20-year-old in his first FA Cup tie. Plymouth are moving well again. Cooper trying to get the flick on it. Here's Phillips. John Hoare knowing that a bit more momentum now, perhaps if they could just increase it by a gear, the third division team could still have a say here. Rostron tries to get Watford moving, a good break by him. So much enthusiasm about the way Watford play, epitomised by the burst then from the captain from his own penalty area. Here's Tynan. And now it's Uzel. Callahan. Staniforth to Cooper. Oh, it's a bad pass, but John Barnes stumbled a bit and Nisbet got it forward to Tynan. He does like to take his shots quickly on the turn, Tommy Tynan. You can see why last season with Newport, he was the highest scorer in the country. Riley. Barnes. And still Barnes. And Riley just needed a touch out to Johnston. It got one then from Rostron. And Johnston's cross And Riley goes in, and that's so close. And how it stayed out, only the people tangled up there will really know. The cross came from Mo Johnston. Riley got tangled up with Uzel, and the ball trickled wide of the post. Foul by Sinnott. Cooper finds Phillips for Plymouth. Oh, Steve Terry saw that. Went through 2 tackles. Les Taylor. Actually, Terry got hurt in that last challenge. This is Bardsley. That's meant for Riley. Harrison is covering for Plymouth. And with 15 minutes to go, indeed 15 minutes away from Wembley as far as Watford are concerned, they have an injury to Steve Terry, who emerged from defence there to go through 2 strong tackles and then got hurt as he got through a third. I think it was Lee Cooper, the last player that Steve Terry actually collided with. But Richard Jobson, the substitute, is warming up in case. Graham Taylor and John Ward, one of his coaches there next to him, knowing now, as the supporters behind them know, how close they are to Watford's first FA Cup final. Steve Terry is back in the action. Callahan. And again, Johnston. Harrison. That's one for Tommy Tynan to chase. Now, can they get anybody forward in support? Staniforth's trying hard, and they've got 2 coming now from midfield. One of them being Hodges. Cooper is square, number 6. Nisbet. Rodgers. Taking on Price. Corner to Plymouth. Quickly taken, and Rodgers and Cooper working it, and the floated cross headed back in by Staniforth, and a chance for Lindsay Smith maybe. Steve Terry is going to hobble off with about 11 minutes left. And he'll be replaced by Richard Jobson, whose only other appearance in the FA Cup competition was for Burton Albion. Now, how are Watford going to reorganise? Will George Riley, I wonder, go back and play centre-half? They'll tell you at Northampton and Cambridge that George Riley can play at centre-half as well as at centre-forward, and it does appear that in the last 10 minutes of this FA Cup semi-final, the man whose goal may take Watford to Wembley has had to totally change his role. They've moved Barnes into centre forward and got Jobson on the left. Here's Johnston. And that was Barnes, who's moved now into Riley's position. There's Tynan. Cooper for Plymouth. And Rodgers making a spirited run on the left, blocked by Riley. Rodgers again. But he's switched from left to right, Rodgers, these last few minutes. Here's Staniforth. It's Rodgers again. Little ball in. Riley's header out. Staniforth with a chance. Oh, good tackle by Riley, the emergency centre-half. Nisbet. And Plymouth are having a good little spell here. Nisbet's cross. And Sherwood comes and misses it completely. Or rather, fumbles it, and Bardsley clears. Harrison back in for Plymouth. Header this time was by Les Taylor. Now Uzel. And Watford need to just get the ball down and control things a bit. Jobson. Takes on Nisbet. Jobson with a fresh pair of legs, remember. Steve Sherwood had an anxious moment then. So too did Graham Taylor. Forward by Harrison as Plymouth prepare for a defiant last gesture. Les Taylor, Rostron, and it's opening up here for Watford. They've got 5 against 4. Callahan. It's Callahan again. Taylor. Bardsley missed his tackle, but not the second time. Plymouth don't quite seem to know what to do with the throw. It's Uzel. Tynan is still willing. Riley still dominating in the air. Bardsley forward. Smith. And Riley again, he's performing heroics back there. Barnes a good turn, made himself some space and found Callahan. 3 minutes to go. Callahan skips past Uzel. 3 coming in from the far side for Watford, and he was taken on the edge of the area. Nigel Callahan, as he threatened to go by Lindsay Smith as well. So, time for a few words between Billy Hales and Graham Taylor there. John Hoare obviously feeling the sands of time are running out for him now. His team are defending, they're a goal behind, they've given away a free kick. And Callahan drove it. Graham Taylor's team less than 2 minutes away. Jobson to Barnes. A foul by Rostron. Plymouth have the ball. Lee Cooper forward. Header by Price. Are we going to have a dramatic finish? If we are, it's got to come from Plymouth and come quickly, because Lee Sinnott is in there to clear. Nisbet to Staniforth. And it's Staniforth. And he pulled it back for Hodges to shoot. And what on earth can you say about that? It was so close that that's sometimes the difference between getting to a cup final and getting knocked out. Staniforth, some trickery on the line. It was well conceived. And he pulled the ball back to little Kevin Hodges. And Watford was surviving there by the width of a goalpost. In the last minute as well. Barnes. That's Uzel. Lindsay Smith was fouled. We're coming into time to be added on for stoppages. This must surely be Plymouth Argyle's last chance. They're throwing everybody forward. It's aimed towards Lindsay Smith. And there's a chance here for Tynan. No, there isn't. Watford had pulled them all back apart from Mo Johnston. And the header on could find Callahan. And he could make for the corner. Gordon Nisbet. Just look at them on the bench. And on that one too, such a contrast in expressions. Here's Jobson for Watford. Lifts it back, and it's Uzel's half clearance. Taylor! Jeff Crudgington knows that time is almost up. Sinnott. Callahan. And they're going to want this to run through to Sherwood or Watford as John Huzel gets a spot of cramp for Plymouth. And the long kick being chased by Barnes. And Watford are through to Wembley for the first time in their history. George Riley's goal wins the semi-final and takes this remarkable story of Graham Taylor's club a stage further. But on the same day, as they celebrate, it's bad luck for Plymouth Argyle, whose third division challenge ended here with some dignity. But little John Hoare, the manager, has every reason to feel pleased with his team. At no time were they overrun, at no time were they outclassed, and at no time did they lie down and die. But Watford, it seems, cannot be stopped. Promotion from the 4th division only 6 years ago, then from the 3rd, then from the 2nd, then runners-up in Division 1, then through to Europe, and now with a team almost rebuilt in the last 12 months, Graham Taylor and Elton John have steered this club through to the FA Cup final at Wembley, and Graham Taylor's proudest moment surely as he goes to salute the fans of this family club. Only one goal in it, but semi-finals are just about who goes through.
Well, they were desperately unlucky, Plymouth. Their manager, John Hoare, and his players won't find that much consolation, I know, at the end of a hard day's work with nothing to show for it, except their pride in their own performance and the absolute honesty of Watford's manager, Graham Taylor, in his after-match tribute to them.
I thought we were very fortunate over the 90 minutes to win it. I thought Plymouth played absolutely magnificently. We did create chances other than the one that we scored, but I thought that in the main Plymouth had the better of the game, and I certainly wouldn't have liked them to have equalised and the game gone into extra time. I thought they were absolutely superb.
Actually, at the very end of the match, there was one moment, heart-stopping for Watford and hopeful for you, when Kevin Hodges almost equalised.
Yeah, well, that summed the lads up in the performance. You know, they went right to the end, and it could easily have gone in. But there you go. We had a couple of half chances. They didn't go in, and Watford put up a good performance. And as I said, wish them every luck in the final.
And I think when you look back on the day, John, one of the things that will stick in your mind is the scene at the end with the fans.
Yeah, that was tremendous, and I've just heard now, one of our directors has just told me that they cheered the Watford team off, and that was the spirit of the game which was played, and I thought they were marvellous.
Now, at a time like this, you feel pleased for so many people. Anybody in particular?
Oh, now, come on, we're not going to get personal, John, are we? My wife, my 2 daughters, and my mum and dad.
And I must mention the chairman, because it is said that when things weren't so good back in December, you told him to keep the cup final date free in his diary.
Yeah, yes, I think it was as much tongue in the cheek. He was organising his concert tour in Europe, and I said, you're going to be a bit sick, aren't you, if you organise one for May the 19th and we get to the cup final? He said, do you think so? I said, I got the feeling that this is going to be our year, and I know everybody says it, but I've always felt it, and we tried to get that through to the players before we played Luton. After 20 minutes in the 3rd round, when we were 2-0 down, I think they were looking at me and wondered what my feelings were all about.
And from the point of view of the club, starting where you did in the 4th division, this is obviously going to be a highlight. You've had many already, but in a way, it's sort of a signpost, isn't it, of how far you've come?
Yes, very much so, John. I mean, if I was really to say exactly what I felt about it, I'm sure that people would say I'm quite an emotional person, really, and I think that they did. It's just too true, isn't it? I mean, you can't really take it all in yet, and I'm sure I won't until probably another 2 or 3 days and sit down and say, you know, crikey, we are at Wembley, and you're going to lead a team out at Wembley. Never played there, always wanted to lead one out as a manager, and I'm very, very thankful for all the people that have helped me.
Lovely. A splendid sporting semi-final with no place for villains of any kind. Unfortunately, there was some crowd disturbance and 75 arrests at the other semi-final at Highbury, where Everton put the final touch to the second half of their extraordinary Jekyll and Hyde season by beating Southampton with a goal scored by Adrian Heath just 3 minutes from the end of extra time. And on the last day of 1983, as Everton and Coventry drew 0-0 at Goodison Park in an appalling game, Howard Kendall left a scene of misery and discontent, and some wondered how long he might last. Well, what a transformation. Relegation's a forgotten word, and Adrian Heath's goal clinched a second Wembley appearance this year for Howard, now a candidate for manager of the season.
Well, it's been a tremendous turnaround. I mean, the season wasn't going well for us. But at the turn of the year, I mean, we've seen the players produce the form I knew they were capable of all along. The run has been tremendous. I'm so pleased for the fans. They've been absolutely... We've been overwhelmed, really, at the support that we've had all the way through in both the cup competitions.
Adrian, congratulations. It was a long time coming, but I should think just about the sweetest moment of your career, that winning goal.
Yes, it meant so much to the players and so much to the supporters, who were absolutely magnificent again. And I can't really describe at the moment how I feel, but I'm sure in the morning I'll know how I feel. But as I say, I'm just absolutely elated.
It must have meant something to you as well, because you really had the two best opportunities in the game before that.
Yes, I never felt we were going to lose at all today. The lads were so determined to do it for the supporters after the disappointment of the last cup final, because it meant so much to us and so much to the supporters. Yeah, but it's always sweet to score a goal, and it made it a little bit sweeter, the fact that I'd missed a couple of good chances earlier on.
There was a very positive attitude about Everton from the second half onwards, really.
Yes, the wind had a big bearing. I thought, you know, you might not have come over in the stand that way, but when you were kicking with the wind, it was a lot easier, and I thought we used the conditions to our benefit the better.
So two finals, you know who the opponents are going to be. Watford, the experience you've gained.
Watford won?
Yes, Watford have won. Of course, you've been involved in something else, haven't you? 1-0.
1-0, yeah. Well, if it's anything like the league game, which was 4-0, it'd be a cracker, but I can't see him beating us.
Will the experience of having been to Wembley and tasted defeat, albeit in the replay, help you this time round?
I feel that going there certainly helped today's game, because I feel it just whetted their appetites. They wanted to go back, and they'd only recently had a taste of it, and I feel that this has been a tremendous boost. We'll look forward to it on the day again.
And the fans, you could almost feel the frustration of all those years of following Liverpool pouring out there at the end.
Well, we've got a tremendous squad of players, and they feel for the fans. They've got a tremendous affection with them, and I think that when the coach arrived today and they were here in the thousands again, we just wanted to do it for them.
Well, Everton were immediately made favourites to win the Cup, with one leading bookie quoting them at 5-4 on with Watford evens. That'll suit Watford, who over the years have been used to being the underdogs. Mind you, there was no lack of confidence before today's semi-final against Plymouth. This sample T-shirt, the Hornets have landed, was already designed with Wembley in mind, and tomorrow it goes into full production. Well, on a day obviously dominated by the Cup, there were a few shocks in the league, with both First Division leaders, Liverpool and Manchester United, losing. So the champions stay 2 points clear of United. Nottingham Forest, who drew at Ipswich, stay third, but now just a point ahead of Queen's Park Rangers, 2-0 winners at Birmingham. Colin Russell, a former apprentice at Anfield and currently on loan from Huddersfield, did his old club no favours by scoring the second goal in Stoke's 2-0 win over Liverpool. Ian Painter got the first, and Trevor Christie scored the only goal as Notts County beat Manchester United. A disappointed United manager, Ron Atkinson, said afterwards, "We threw it away by conceding a silly goal. Our defenders just let the ball roll along the goal line for Christie to put it in. It's even worse knowing that Liverpool lost too." Notts County lost striker Ian McCulloch near the end with a broken bone in his left leg, and he's out for the rest of the season. Also out is Queen's Park Rangers midfield man Gary Waddock with a broken ankle. Waddock, the Republic of Ireland international, was injured in a tackle with Birmingham's Howard Gale. Stoke and Notts County were just two of the four winners at the bottom of the table, as the relegation clubs there suddenly hit form. Coventry and Sunderland also won, while Ipswich and West Bromwich Albion both drew. The only losers were Wolves, beaten 2-1 at Coventry. In Division 2, Gary Shelton's 77th minute goal gave Sheffield Wednesday the double over promotion rivals Newcastle in front of a capacity 37,000 crowd at St James's Park. But Pat Nevin kept Chelsea on Wednesday's heels with the only goal of the game at Crystal Palace. So the gap between Wednesday and Chelsea remains 3 points. Newcastle stay third, but must now be looking over their shoulder at Manchester City and Grimsby, who both won today. City beat Carlisle 3-1, while Grimsby defeated Swansea 3-0, Kevin Drinkle getting all three. At the bottom, Cambridge United are relegated. In Division 3, the top four clubs all won, so there's no change. The most impressive performance coming from Sheffield United, who beat Bristol Rovers 4-0. Keith Edwards scored twice to take his total for the season to 40. In Division 4, one result this evening, Torquay 1, Stockport 1. It doesn't affect the top, where York's lead is now 14 points after their 4-1 win at Aldershot. Bristol City also won 4-1 to move back into second place, a point ahead of Doncaster. Check those pools coupons carefully tonight. With 7 score draws and 4 no-score draws on the coupons, telephone claims are requested for 23 or 22.5 points. The dividend forecast is very good. The numbers 2, 13, 16, 18, 19, 40, 54. The no scores, 6, 31, 50 and 55. Well, there was no extra time needed in the Scottish Cup semi-finals. The holders Aberdeen are still on course for a third successive triumph in the competition, beating Dundee 2-0. Meanwhile, at Hampden Park, Celtic and St Mirren were contesting the other semi-final. Your commentator, Archie McPherson.
Way by Clark. Province there. To McStay, who wants to attack. Swinging it round. This must be a chance. It is. That counts this time. Brian McClare, 1-0. Fitzpatrick had disappeared in midfield. He's been subdued. McAvenny, the good jumping again. Here's a great chance. He scored the equaliser by Frank McDougall. 38 minutes gone, and the man who made it for him yet again, McAvenny. Grain right down the line. Looked like a foul throw to me. Mugabe wants a 1-2. Barnes is there. Ooh, shaded away. Post. And Thompson's in. Paul McStay got that final touch in the 36th minute of the second half. An extraordinary turn of events. Celtic thoroughly deservedly 2-1 up.
Well, two exciting cup finals to come then, north and south of the border, both as open as they can be. The First Division title still at stake and European honours still at the mercy of British teams. Not a bad thought as we approach the climax of the season. But win or lose in May, no one can take away from Graham Taylor the achievement of being the first man to lead Watford to Wembley. And whether you believe in long balls or short balls, you can't argue about a bit of old-fashioned wing play, a dribble, a run and a cross, and a brave header from a number 9 to round it off. Good night to you.
All a bit untidy at the moment, but here's Barnes. Riley's coming towards the near post. Oh, he got a flick and it's there! George Riley came in and Watford are in front after 13 minutes. And Watford are through to Wembley for the first time in their history. George Riley's goal wins the semi-final and takes this remarkable story of Graham Taylor's club a stage further.